Most people labor under the misapprehension that hoarding money is the secret to accumulating wealth. They clutch tightly to every dollar, fueled by the anxiety that spending it equates to losing it permanently. But that's a deceptive narrative propagated by the very system designed to keep you tethered to a lifetime of labor. The reality is far more complex. Money only generates more money when it's in motion. The wealthy don't simply stockpile their funds, they strategically deploy them. Each dollar they spend acts as a resourceful soldier, venturing out to conquer and acquire even more. In contrast, those less fortunate confine their money, mistakenly believing it ensures security, when in reality, it leads to financial stagnation. From a young age, you were instilled with a fear of loss, constantly reminded to save your money, avoid risks, and play it safe. Unbeknownst to them, they were inadvertently programming you with a subservient mentality. A master doesn't cower from loss, they leverage it. The master understands that true power lies in exchanging fleeting comfort for enduring control. Throughout history, every empire, substantial fortune, and powerful dynasty originated from individuals who dared to spend when everyone else was preoccupied with saving. Machiavelli grasped this concept centuries ago, recognizing that power invariably gravitates toward those bold enough to strategically risk their resources. Consider this. Why do billionaires pour millions into businesses, networks, and influential campaigns when they could easily live a life of quiet luxury with their existing wealth? The answer lies in their understanding that stagnation breeds decay. If your money isn't actively working for you, you're not growing, you're slowly dying financially. The illusion of safety in holding onto money is quickly dispelled by the corrosive effects of inflation on your savings and the paralysis that fear inflicts upon your progress. While you're delaying action, waiting for the perfect moment, someone else is leveraging their money to seize the opportunities you're too apprehensive to pursue, including freedom itself. I'm about to share a closely guarded secret that the wealthy will never explicitly teach you. Money despises stillness. It deteriorates in silence and thrives only when it flows through channels of opportunity, risk, and action. This explains why the wealthy appear fearless when spending. They're not merely spending, they're investing in power. Each move is meticulously calculated. Every expense is a carefully crafted strategy. While those with less experience view spending as a loss, the wealthy perceive it as leverage. Have you ever noticed how the average person celebrates saving a few dollars, while the wealthy spend thousands to attend private dinners, exclusive masterminds, or other gatherings? The difference goes beyond mere wealth, it's rooted in psychology. Those of limited means prioritize protecting their money, while the wealthy prioritize safeguarding their position. Once you lose your position, your money won't be sufficient to rescue you. You'll constantly find yourself one poor decision away from having to start all over again. Let's put your mindset to the test. Imagine you had $1. Would you be inclined to purchase new clothes, upgrade your phone, or invest in acquiring a skill that could potentially generate $10 for you in the future? Most people would opt for immediate gratification, and that's what keeps them confined. They prioritize fleeting pleasure over long-term power, purchasing items to impress people who are indifferent to them rather than investing in access to individuals who could transform their lives. Here's the blunt truth. Your financial future hinges not on how much you earn, but on how you manage what you earn. The wealthy understand this principle as if it were an immutable law. Money is a tool, not a trophy. The moment you begin treating money as something to be shielded, you've already forfeited the game. Because the pursuit of wealth rewards assertiveness, not caution. The world doesn't compensate you for saving, it compensates you for taking calculated risks. You can't build an empire solely from a savings account. You build it through decisions that initially frighten you. However, here's where most people err. They conflate spending with investing, assuming that all monetary movement is the same. It isn't. When you spend to escape discomfort, that's a manifestation of weakness. When you spend to amplify your capabilities, that's a display of power. Those who lack wealth spend to project the appearance of wealth, while the wealthy spend to further enrich themselves. Every decision is evaluated through a single, crucial question. Will this strengthen my position in the long run? Ponder that for a moment. The wealthy aren't just more adept at handling money, they're also more detached and calculating. They treat every dollar as a weapon, deploying it strategically to eliminate weaknesses. acquire vital information, secure precious time, and exert greater control. In contrast, the average person spends to alleviate pain, experience pleasure, or create a false facade. The significance isn't in the amount of money involved, but in the mindset driving its movement. If you believe this is about greed, you've missed the fundamental point. This is about survival within a system that rewards action and penalizes hesitation. Observe your surroundings. Opportunities don't patiently wait, they move swiftly and reward those who are bold. The moment you become stagnant, you become irrelevant. Machiavelli would term that the death of fortune, the moment when luck deserts you because you refuse to act. Now, let me pose a more direct question. How much money have you forfeited by playing it safe? How many opportunities have slipped through your fingers because you were apprehensive about spending? Perhaps it was a valuable course you hesitated to purchase, a promising business you failed to launch, or a crucial connection you neglected to cultivate. You justified your inaction by claiming you couldn't afford it, but in reality, you couldn't afford not to. Because every moment you delay your growth, someone else is leveraging their courage to acquire your future. The powerful comprehend this principle. Even if you don't, every financial decision either fortifies your control or weakens it. Every purchase serves as a vote for the life you desire. If you consistently indulge in distractions, you're voting for mediocrity. If you invest in knowledge, tools, and leverage, you're voting for dominance. The wealthy don't ask, "Can I afford this?" They ask, "What will this cost me if I don't do it?" That's the forbidden rule that separates them from the rest. Those of limited means fixate on price, while the wealthy consider the ultimate cost. Price is what you pay up front, but cost represents what you forfeit later if you fail to act. A person lacking in wealth laments, "That's too expensive," while a wealthy individual questions, "What will it cost me if I remain the same?" This single shift in mindset distinguishes those who progress from those who deteriorate. You might perceive this as ruthless, and it is, because the pursuit of wealth is inherently ruthless. The world rewards those who grasp the dynamics of motion, leverage, and timing, while penalizing those who hesitate. You've been told that patience is a virtue, but that adage only holds true for those who lack power. For the powerful, patience serves as a strategic weapon, employed deliberately, not passively. They only exercise patience when it enhances their odds, not when it shields them from fear. So, here's the harsh truth. If you're not channeling your money into acquiring power, you're being exploited by someone who is. Every dollar you hoard is inadvertently working for someone else. While your money lies dormant, theirs is actively compounding, accumulating influence, securing access, and generating opportunities. You're diligently saving your money in a bank, while that bank is leveraging your money to enrich itself further. You're saving for security, while inflation silently erodes your purchasing power each day. The game isn't fair, but it is learnable. Once you grasp the rules, everything transforms. You begin to view spending through a different lens, shedding the guilt associated with investing in yourself and ceasing to seek permission to take calculated risks. You recognize that every great empire originated from a decision that appeared reckless to the average person. Machiavelli would assert that fortune favors the bold, but more accurately, it favors the strategic. The distinction between a gambler and a strategist lies in control. One haphazardly throws money into chaos, while the other directs it with purpose. That's the initial step toward achieving genuine wealth, comprehending that spending itself isn't the enemy, ignorance is. Those who lack wealth squander money through reckless spending, while the wealthy cultivate it through intentional spending. It's not about the quantity of money you possess, but about how you utilize it. Money in motion generates momentum. Momentum breeds opportunity, and opportunity, when seized, culminates in power. So, cease worshiping money and start commanding it. If you relinquish control over your finances, someone else will inevitably control you through theirs. Now that you understand the truth about money in motion, let's delve deeper into the core principles that separate those who ascend from those who remain trapped. These aren't mere theories, they're tangible, tactical rules employed by individuals who build power silently, strategically, and without remorse. Once you comprehend them, you'll begin to perceive the world through the same lens as the wealthy. Core principle number 2. Spend to cultivate capability. Those of limited means prioritize comfort, while the wealthy invest in capability. It's that simple. You cannot achieve growth if your money doesn't enhance your competitiveness in the marketplace. Every dollar you spend should amplify your capacity to earn more in the future. That's how empires are forged, not through mere saving, but through transforming spending into tangible skills and advantages. Consider this analogy. An individual who saves $1 might experience a momentary sense of financial security. But that money simply stagnates, slowly diminishing in value. Conversely, another individual might invest that same $1 in acquiring valuable skills such as sales, copywriting, or investing, thereby enhancing their long-term value. A year later, they could be earning $10 per month because they leveraged their money to augment their capabilities. What's the defining difference? One prioritized safety, while the other prioritized intelligence. The system doesn't reward mere hard work, it rewards usefulness. If your skills don't amplify your output, you'll remain stuck, regardless of your efforts. That's why the wealthy regard education as a potent weapon. They willingly spend considerable sums to learn from those who are already achieving success, paying for access to exclusive environments that filter out distractions. A single insightful idea, a transformative conversation, or a valuable piece of information can alter the trajectory of your entire life. However, most people hesitate, rationalizing that they can acquire the same knowledge for free. While that might be true, time is the most precious commodity. Free information can cost you years of wasted effort, while paid information, although requiring a financial investment, accelerates your progress. The wealthy purchase speed, while those of limited means purchase time. One builds leverage, while the other squanders it. I once knew an individual who declined to spend $200 on a freelancing course, deeming it too expensive. Instead, he spent 2 years attempting to navigate the freelancing world on his own. Meanwhile, another individual enrolled in the course, applied the lessons learned, and within a matter of months, was earning $5 per month. The lesson is clear. Being financially frugal can ultimately cost you more in terms of time. Every time you decline to invest in yourself, you prolong your struggle. Machiavelli would advise you that fortune favors those who act swiftly, not recklessly, but decisively, because opportunities are fleeting, decaying like unharvested fruit. Once they rot, their inherent potential is lost forever. The bold act while others hesitate, using their money to unlock doors that fear keeps firmly shut. Therefore, when spending money, pose this critical question. Does this purchase enhance my capabilities or merely provide comfort? One path leads to power, while the other leads to weakness. The individual who spends to foster growth becomes unstoppable, while the one who spends to escape remains perpetually stuck. Core principle number 3. Spend to acquire position. Now that we've established the importance of capability, let's explore an even more impactful concept, position. The wealthy don't merely purchase things, they purchase strategic placement. They recognize that in life, your proximity to influential individuals matters more than the intensity of your efforts. Money can buy access, and access can cultivate influence, which in turn can acquire everything else. You can possess unparalleled skills, but if no one recognizes your potential, you'll remain invisible. The wealthy understand that visibility generates opportunity, which is why they invest in gaining access to environments where deals are brokered, not just where people engage in casual conversation. They avoid wasting time on aimless networking, instead strategically buying their way into environments where power is already circulating. Allow me to provide an illustration. An individual once spent $10 to attend a private event hosted by an investor group. To most people, this would seem extravagant and irrational. However, at that event, he connected with a business partner who subsequently helped him generate $500 within a single year. Was that $10 an expense or an investment? Those who lack wealth would deem it wasteful, while the wealthy would recognize it as leverage. That's how power operates. You purchase access to higher echelons of the game, strategically positioning yourself near opportunities rather than passively waiting for them to materialize. Those of limited means rely on luck, while the wealthy engineer it. They invest in entering circles that amplify their influence, understanding that relationships forged through financial means can endure long after the money itself is gone. Consider historical examples. Kings didn't solely rely on building armies, they also invested in forging alliances, They leveraged their wealth to fortify their position before the onset of war, ensuring victory. Before swords clashed, deals were negotiated, and before battles commenced, influence was acquired through financial means. The same dynamics persist today, albeit manifested through investments, partnerships, and social capital. Ask yourself, where does your money flow? Toward things that elevate your status or things that provide fleeting pleasure? Those lacking wealth spend on consumption, while the wealthy spend on strategic positioning. They'll allocate $2 for travel if it places them in proximity to millionaires. But they'll avoid wasting $200 on sneakers that merely create the illusion of wealth. They understand that simply appearing wealthy doesn't equate to actually being wealthy. Being visible to the right individuals does. However, here's a harsh truth. You'll never gain access if you're reluctant to pay for it. The system is designed to filter those with a scarcity mindset from those with an abundance mindset. Which is why most people never gain entry. They can't stomach the price. Clinging to notions of scarcity rather than embracing strategic thinking. They perceive doors as insurmountable walls. But every door can be unlocked with the appropriate payment, not always in the form of money, but in value, sacrifice, or boldness. Let's say you aspire to build a successful business. You could attempt to do it alone, facing a slow, arduous journey, or you could invest in mentorship, joining a high-level community and learning directly from those who have already achieved success. One path requires a financial investment, while the other exacts a toll in terms of time and effort. You get to choose your price, but either way, you'll pay. Therefore, stop asking how to save money and start asking how to leverage money to acquire strategic positioning. When you're in the right place, opportunities will seek you out rather than the other way around. The higher your position, the less effort you'll need to exert. That's the essence of leverage. The art of enlisting others or systems to work in your favor. Once you experience that level of power, you'll never regress, because you'll realize that the ultimate objective was never merely to accumulate money, but to make money work for you. That's the profound shift that eternally separates the wealthy from those who are not. Machiavelli would term it the art of controlled risk, strategically spending to fortify your position before making your next move. You don't enter the arena unprepared, you invest in information, alliances, and weaponry, and then you strike decisively. That's how power is cultivated, quietly, deliberately, with money serving as your weapon of choice. So, remember these two foundational laws. Spend to cultivate capability, making yourself more formidable and competitive, and spend to acquire position, strategically placing yourself closer to sources of power. All other forms of spending are merely distractions, representing weakness disguised as pleasure. When you adopt this mindset, the world ceases to appear unfair, and you begin to understand why some individuals seem perpetually fortunate. They're not simply lucky, they're strategic, buying their way into favorable circumstances before others even recognize the existence of the opportunity. You'll begin to discern patterns, identifying those who are investing in growth versus those who are trapped in cycles of consumption, and differentiating those who are merely pretending to play the game from those who are already achieving victory. The truth is that wealth isn't created through saving or hoping, it's created through strategic deployment. The wealthy move their money with deliberate intent, while those of limited means move it based on emotion. That's the defining distinction. Now, before we proceed to the next core principles, remember this. Money doesn't vanish when you spend it, it transforms. The question is, what are you transforming it into? Power or weakness? Growth or distraction? Freedom or dependence? The choice is perpetually yours. But your outcomes will invariably reveal the type of player you are. Core principle number 4. Spend to gain leverage. Leverage is the concealed engine that fuels every fortune. It enables one individual to control the efforts of thousands without lifting a finger, transforming a single decision into a cascading chain reaction of wealth. Here's a harsh truth. Leverage invariably costs money. Those lacking wealth avoid it, while the wealthy actively seek it out. Leverage involves utilizing your money to amplify your output, enabling the wealthy to escape the trap of trading time for income. They invest in building robust systems, hiring talented individuals, and employing tools that continue to generate wealth even while they sleep. An individual lacking wealth attempts to perform every task independently to save money. But this mindset perpetuates their limitations. A wealthy individual asks, "How can I leverage my money to have 10 people working while I rest?" Ponder this. If you earn $50 per hour but spend hours performing tasks that someone else could accomplish for $10 per hour, you're not saving money, you're losing $40 every hour. The wealthy understand this simple math intuitively. Leveraging money to buy back time, focus, and scalability, they delegate tasks of lesser importance, channeling their energy into activities that yield the greatest returns. Every dollar they invest in leverage buys them back valuable hours of power. Let me share a compelling story. A man named Elias launched a small online business. Initially, he handled every aspect himself: marketing, design, email correspondence, and customer service. He was perpetually exhausted and barely generating any income. One day, he decided to hire a virtual assistant for $300 per month. This single decision doubled his income within weeks. Why? Because it freed up his time to focus on sales and strategic initiatives. He spent money, but what he truly acquired was momentum. That's leverage. Those lacking wealth would criticize this decision, arguing that he should have just done it himself. But that's how the system ensnares you, keeping you perpetually busy and preventing you from building anything substantial. The wealthy understand that the purpose of money is to liberate you from tasks that drain your energy, allowing you to ascend to higher levels. They systematically replace themselves within the system until the machine operates seamlessly without their direct involvement. Machiavelli would argue that a wise ruler never wields his own sword when he can hire a soldier to do so. That's leverage. You don't engage in every battle personally. You invest in commanding the army. The same principle applies to money. Don't be the worker. Be the commander who directs capital and people to amplify your results. Therefore, if you aspire to grow, stop hoarding your money out of fear and instead use it to acquire leverage. Tools, automation, a capable team, robust systems, and influence. Every dollar that remains idle represents a missed opportunity to expand your reach. The relevant question isn't, can I afford to delegate, but how much longer can I afford to perform everything myself? Core principle number 5. Spend to buy time. Time is the only currency that surpasses money in value. Those who lack wealth spend their lives trading it away, while the wealthy spend money to acquire more of it. They understand that every second has a price, and that every delay, hesitation, or postponement incurs a cost that cannot be recovered. People lacking wealth treat time as if it were limitless, squandering days to save a few dollars, standing in line for hours to secure a discount, or taking circuitous routes to avoid paying a toll. The wealthy operate in the opposite manner, willingly spending money to expedite processes, bypass waiting lines, and accelerate their progress, because they recognize that time, not cash, is the ultimate treasure. Here's a crucial insight that few people grasp: the faster you move, the more opportunities you'll uncover. The world withholds rewards from those who are slow. The reason the wealthy accumulate more wealth isn't solely attributable to luck. It's because they can move more swiftly, make decisions more decisively, act more promptly, and recover from mistakes more efficiently because they haven't squandered their time hesitating. An individual who values their time understands that money is a renewable resource. But time is not. They can always generate more money, but they can never reclaim a wasted year. This is why the wealthy spend aggressively to reclaim their time, hiring assistants, automating tasks, and outsourcing activities of lesser importance. Every purchase represents a conscious decision to buy back valuable hours of life. I once encountered a consultant who charged $5 for a single session. When asked why his rate was so exorbitant, he responded, "Because I can save you 5 years." That's the essence of wealthy thinking. They don't pay for information, they pay for acceleration. Paying for shortcuts that compress time. That's why they ultimately triumph. Because while others are merely crawling, they're sprinting. Ask yourself, how much time do you squander on activities that don't contribute to your growth? How many hours vanish while performing tasks that you could readily delegate or automate? Every wasted hour represents a piece of your potential that is lost forever. Every strategic purchase that saves you time represents a step toward greater freedom. Here's the Machiavellian truth. Control over time equates to control over power. The individual who controls their time controls their future. while the individual who doesn't serve someone who does. Core principle number 6. Spend to create substitution. This is where the game takes on a colder, more strategic edge. Substitution is the art of leveraging money to replace that which others depend on, allowing the wealthy to render themselves irreplaceable while making everyone else replaceable. It's a silent form of dominance that most people fail to recognize until it's too late. When you can substitute yourself, your business, or your influence into positions that others cannot attain, you effectively own the game. Those lacking wealth depend on a single source of income, one job, one client, or one platform, while the wealthy use money to cultivate multiple avenues, ensuring that when one fails, another emerges to take its place. That's substitution, replacing weakness with a plethora of options. For instance, a content creator who relies solely on one platform is inherently vulnerable. However, a savvy creator invests in building an email list, running ads, and distributing content across multiple channels, ensuring that if one platform collapses, their entire empire remains intact. That's not mere luck, that's intentional design. The same principle applies to business, relationships, and power. Control stems from having options, and options cost money. Consider another example. A business owner who relies entirely on a single supplier is inherently weak. However, if they invest in establishing 2 or 3 backup suppliers, they become untouchable. If one collapses, they can substitute it instantaneously, averting panic and pivoting effortlessly. That's how powerful individuals maintain composure during times of chaos. They've already paid for their escape routes. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. A ruler who is dependent on others is never truly safe. But a ruler who can replace anyone at any time becomes unstoppable. In modern terms, this translates to using money to build independence. You cannot be controlled if you've already acquired your alternatives. This principle extends beyond mere systems. It applies to all aspects of life. Invest in creating substitution in your income, your influence, and your skills. Those lacking wealth depend on a single paycheck, while the wealthy cultivate streams of income that sustain them regardless of the circumstances. Those lacking wealth depend on a single boss, while the wealthy build networks that ensure their continued employment even during economic downturns. Substitution equates to power through replacement, and replacement requires an upfront investment, but it buys lasting peace of mind. The moment you can replace your dependencies, you achieve true freedom. Therefore, when you spend, think like a strategist, ensuring that every dollar either acquires leverage, buys time, or creates substitution. These 3 elements, when combined, create total control, rendering you unshakable, formidable, and sovereign. Those lacking wealth perceive spending as a loss, while the wealthy understand that spending is about shifting, transforming money into power, power into time, and time into dominance. Here's a sobering truth to contemplate. Money exists to be used, not stored. Stored money benefits banks and governments, while used money fuels your empire. That's the defining difference between slaves of the system and masters of it. The system teaches you to hoard, while it simultaneously uses your hoarded money to expand itself. The wealthy flip the script, leveraging money to detach themselves from the system entirely. Therefore, remember this: every time you spend, you're not merely making a transaction, you're making a strategic move on a chessboard. Every move either propels you closer to checkmate or pushes you closer to defeat. Most people don't even realize they're playing the game. But once you grasp this concept, you'll never view spending the same way again. The goal isn't to be cautious, it's to be calculated. The goal isn't to save, it's to spend strategically. The goal isn't to possess money, it's to control what money provides you. If you play this game skillfully, you'll eventually reach a point where your money not only buys things, but also buys power that multiplies itself.